Hello and welcome to Smash Hits Sports. I'm your host, Cody. And we had a hell of a weekend in terms of college basketball. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. We've also had a hell of a start to the week, which did not expect either, but it's here. This is going to be, Nick, I think truly one of the best regular season weekends of college basketball we've seen in years. Like this weekend's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, Cody, it's coming at the perfect time. And we were just talking about before we started recording, but the college basketball schedule makers, they knew what they were doing this year. They said, okay, right before the Super Bowl, during that Pro Bowl weekend, there's no college football, there's no NFL football. Let's just throw all of the best games we can this week. Because to all the people out there that are kind of yearning for some sports throughout the week, they're not going to be able to go anywhere for it besides college basketball. So, of course, it's Duke, UNC, and Tennessee, Kentucky, and Houston, Kansas, St. Mary's, Gonzaga, Iowa State. Like, we just have Purdue, Wisconsin's on Sunday. Like, just an incredible slate that we'll get into later. I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm right there with you. But a kind of wild start to the week just in the media world, if you want to talk about that.
Yes. So we got to talk about the downfall of Jeff Goodman, which I'm going to be honest, right? This is an opinion show. I'll give my opinion. I think Jeff Goodman's a fucking dork. I thought he's always been a fucking dork, and mainly because he's an online internet bully. Like he is, and like the one thing that I hate about it is he will just degrade people and then not like take any accountability for it whatsoever. Like if you're going to be a douche online, at least like admit that you're going to be a douche online. But he like, and it is long before been like, he has just attacked people. Like there have been times there's been like, oh, these are my top, 10 environments in college basketball. And he'll respond to, well, how many have you been to? It's like, hey, buddy, not everybody who talks about this fucking sport can do it for a living. And you shouldn't be able to because you suck. So today, the Blue Demon Degenerate on Twitter released a documentary. He had Big East Films was what it was called on YouTube. It is a documentary called Divine Providence. I don't know if you've seen it. It is it's a pretty solid. Okay.
No, yeah, I deep dove right after you told me about this. I went well into it. So yeah, I watched it. It's well done.
Yeah.
And
it's a well done documentary. And like granted, like there's a couple things like there are points where like the audio isn't outstanding or whatever, but like it's overall pretty well done. Like it's an interesting.
Yeah, I didn't listen to the whole hour and a half, but I thought, there was, if like the audio cut out at one point, maybe I'd say something, but I feel like it was just some guy doing a little passion project.
Yeah. And I thought it was cool. really, really like interesting. But Jeff Goodman apparently fucking hated this. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because
we don't know why. No one knows why.
I think it's because he's an Ed Cooley guy, but that I'm not sure. But Jeff Goodman, to the guy who made this, who again just a dude who made this like, because he thought it would be fun.
Could be a high school kid, right? You know what I mean? Like, all right, go on.
This is what he has said. Told you you'll be getting sued. Nah, my source is damn good though. You might honestly lose a lot of money for this. I don't think you'll serve time though. The guy responds like kind of half-assed, like whatever. Jeff Goodman,
I don't think you'll serve time though.
Yeah.
And then he follows that up with, how do you look in orange? Which is basically saying like you're gonna serve time. And this is obviously a scenario where this guy is not serving fucking time or getting sued or anything, right? Like, I mean, Jeff Goodman just lost his goddamn mind. But I feel like some other people in his little circle were like in on it too. Like, I forget their names.
They were defending him at first. The one that Rob Doster is another one that was kind of defending him. But
he was like,
Then Jeff DM'd him, which like, okay, if you're gonna talk shit, whatever. This in the off season when I have time, I will track down who you are. That's fucked up. Hey, Jeff Goodman can't fucking do that. So now he has been fired from Stadium and Field of 68.
Yeah,
And
which is good.
yeah, so
He's like the first ever person to get fired for just being a fucking loser on Twitter. Like, just being
yeah,
like, and it caught up to him. I mean, it is true, like what you were saying. He will snap and just pretend like he doesn't. Um, and it just had gone on for too long. Because it'd be one thing if that was his shtick, to just be like, to own into it, be like, yeah, like I'll fucking freak out sometimes, but like it's a part of me, man. Just get used to it. That's one thing. But he's like, no, like I'm a level-headed guy. I'm normal. And then he
yeah.
goes out and is fucking attacking someone for making like a passion project about Providence because he loves the Big East. He like literally, I think if you read the Blue Demon, whatever his name was, if you read his explanation, he's like, I had a sour taste left in my mouth after I watched the ESPN's like death of the Big East 30 for 30 because it talks about everyone leaving and that the Big East doesn't matter anymore. And in my opinion, I love the Big East how it is now. And so he wanted to make videos about it. How can you get mad at something like that? Like,
I
that's so crazy.
Dude, I don't know, but his comment section on every tweet that he's posted since, which he has not addressed it, is just getting fucking shredded.
It is hilarious though that like he's posting like his podcast with
Yeah.
Robbie Hummel or whatever. He's just like, oh, like normal day at the office, and he's getting fucking murdered in the comments. Big Cat,
Yeah.
Dave Portnoy, all the Barstool guys who hate him because again, they've had beef with him for a while because he's just the Pardon My Take guys and the Barstool guys normally have beef with guys who are like fucking annoying losers. It's just like Darren Rovell. Like that's a perfect example.
Yeah, but at least Darren Ravel is like a little self-aware in his loserness, where like this is just straight up being a douche. So hilarious. He's
That's
fired
funny,
for being a fucking loser. Speaking of losers, tough weekend for you, pal. Sad boy hours.
It was one of the worst weekends of all time for me. And hear me out here, Cody. 2019, when the Ravens went 14-2, lost to the Titans. That loss stung more because you're losing to Ryan Tannehill and the 60 Titans, not the defending Super Bowl champ, Tom Brady, like reincarnated Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But in 2019, Clemson was in the national championship game the day after the Ravens lost to the Titans. Clemson was playing Joe Burrow and LSU. So it was basically like two days where these are like the two biggest games in football in my life in like, a long time. Obviously, Clemson won the Natty the year before, but it was just like this, oh my God, this 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
And we lost both. And I was just like, wow, what do I do with my life? History repeats itself because who made the Super Bowl that year? The Chiefs and the 49ers. Like that was going 2019, going to 2020. It's the same bullshit. And now we have Trump-Biden election again. It's a leap year again.
I can't keep doing this shit.
Like, what's next? We're going to get another fucking mass, like COVID, some new systemic epidemic. And it's just going to repeat. It's going to be a cycle. But the fact that it's happened before, I'm a little numb to it. But for some reason, that Clemson Duke loss, that like stung me more than I thought it was going to, because I knew we could win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I really was expecting us to win though, and then we lose because of just classic ACC refs in Durham that are just like, all right, this is a 50-50 call. I could call it or not. They call it every single time, and it's like if this was the first time that happened to Clemson against Duke, I'd be like, yeah, sure. I guess that was a foul. But it happens every year. Like, it's just so brutal that, like, when PJ Hall misses that and one, makes both free throws, we go up one. In my head, I'm like, they're going to shoot free throws. I just knew it. And it happened. And it's just so upsetting, man. Because now you have Rothstein and guys being like, bad news for the ACC. This means, like, they might only have two teams make it. Like, people are talking about Clemson not making the tournament now, which is bothering the hell out of me because we have, like, one of the better resumes in the country still, even though we're losing some of these games at the end. It's done. That's all you need to know is that it's done.
So I agree. The call at the end of the game was kind of soft, and it is what it is. Like I I truly, truly believed that Clemson was going to win that game, and I picked Duke in the pick'em on last week's show. I thought that Clemson was going to get it done. I took Clemson plus 7.5. It was one of my favorite bets of the day. It
Yeah,
cashed,
that
but
cash for me. Thank God.
damn, it was a close ass game. And I'm going to be honest, if you are a Duke fan after that win, there's no way you can feel good about where this team
You
is at.
you shouldn't feel good about where your team is at all in general throughout the entire season. There's
Yep.
one good performance was that Baylor performance.
Yep.
And even Baylor is kind of, they're not a top 4 seed right now. And then that Arkansas loss that Duke has is just looking worse and worse and worse, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
So it's just, and that's the other thing is, like, it wasn't just that call at the end. It was Ian Sheffield, who is a huge reason Clemson's won a lot of games this year. Under 2 minutes left, Clemson's up like 4, and Brad Brownell has like a couple timeouts, and it's like, okay, let's just like really play safe here. Like, and I hate when we do this because it's like you have a 3-on-1, but we're just kind of jogging and trying to chew clock, and then you get it to Sheffield, he turns it over. I think whoever Jared McCain on Duke had 4 steals all off Ian Sheffield in the last 4 minutes. Clemson didn't even, they got 1 shot off to ice the game. They had like 5 possessions, only got 1 shot off. That's unacceptable. There's also a ton of other no calls throughout the game that, I had people that I follow in, the Clemson bubble that were tweeting I've been covering Clemson for 40 years. And I never make it about the refs ever, ever, ever. Never have. You can check everything. This is the worst I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, so if that's true, then that just bothers me so much more because it's just Duke getting away with it again. They're ranked number 7 right now. That is so bullshit, man. They are not a good team. They are not a good team.
That is absolutely ridiculous. But I don't think this is the last we'll talk about this Clemson Tigers team. Like they should make the tournament.
I think we're
they're a good team.
We're like 4 wins away from making it. Yeah. That's all. We just can't lose out.
Yeah.
In late January to March. But I'm with you. Just still a bother. But we'll move on. Can't spend too much time on it.
Yeah.
TCU Baylor, how great of a game that was, right?
That was outstanding, dude. I mean, just such a good game. Back and forth, the environment. First off, Baylor needs to get credit for building a phenomenal new basketball gym because that fan base, the way that they built that gym, it feels like the student section is on top of the court. It feels like they are suffocating you. And it was awesome. It was absolutely electric. TCU comes in triple overtime, gets the dub on the road. It was outstanding. Baylor is one of the few teams on my 2024 do not bet list already. It takes a really special something to get on the new list for the new year. Baylor's on that because if they had any sort of toughness, I think they would have closed out this game either in regulation or in one of the overtimes, and they just couldn't do it. This isn't a tough team, and I'm very concerned come March.
And this is the other thing is that, normally I can't put teams on my no bet list because it's just a home and away sort of scenario. But Baylor is losing some of these games at home. They were at home in this game. They struggled at home against Texas, or I forget who it was, but I've noticed that they're not necessarily taking care of the spread advantage they have at home. So I did not touch that game this Saturday. There were honestly a lot of really good games that I just couldn't touch. It was kind of a wild Saturday of just Vegas with really good lines, and I just wasn't sure what to do with it. But that was probably the game of the day on Saturday. Jacoby Walter.
Yeah, dude.
Potential lottery pick.
Special performance.
Clutch as hell. in I think that was the first overtime he tied it up. I really would love to see more from him because he's still a project, and he has the potential to start putting up 25 a game if he really wants to.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to UConn.
Okay.
Which you have an interesting take here.
UConn is currently the number 1 team in the country. They are back-to-back spending some time here at the top of the AP poll. I think they have been number 1 with Donovan Clingan not being 100%. And he was a critical piece in their title run last year. And I thought he was going to play a bigger role this year. So much so that I put money on him to win the National Player of the Year. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen because he missed so much time with injury. That being said, what Donovan Clingan does for UConn, this defense, this entire team, it changes them so much. The way that and don't get me wrong, Xavier isn't a world beater by any means, but they handled Xavier. And the other thing, too, with this, Donovan Clingan played 19 minutes in this game. In 19 minutes, he had 18, 8, and 2 in 19 minutes of playing time. The dude is efficient. He is a dog. And in a era of college basketball right now where you can really do some damage with a dominant big man, Clingan is a dominant big man. If he can stay healthy, UConn is a Final Four team. And that you can stamp that fucking ticket. They are a Final Four team as long as he stays healthy.
I think it's just it's the spacing. They play more like an NBA team than most college basketball teams out there, where you have, Stephon Castle, who is a pretty dynamic pass-first type of point guard, and then this massive beast inside that arguably, Xavier would have to double because they don't have enough size. We would have to see what Purdue or something would do. Yeah. But when you do that, you have Alex Caravan, Cam Spencer, Tristan Newton, just all these guys outside that are gritty, hardworking, kind of like Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. It just feels like those teams are pretty similar in the ability to space the floor. And if their guards are playing well, it feels like you can't beat them. But it's important to have your big in the game to space the floor. So yes, Clingan needs to stay healthy, but
8 for 9, 100% really from the line and the free throw line.
Yeah, he's also a much better shooter. Crazy. He can shoot a 3 every now and then if he wants to. But again, home game, 100 points is crazy, but it is Xavier. They're below 500.
Yeah.
We'll see. We're going to talk about that UConn a little bit later. Oh my gosh. But keeping it in the Big East, though, I want to talk about Ed Cooley going back to Providence. That was nuts.
This was it was art. It was beauty. There was a video that came out, did its rounds on Twitter prior to the start of the game of fans or of student sections literally running over each other to try to get into this game. The environment was outstanding. This was the loudest I've heard a college basketball gym all year. It was raucous. It was insane. Games like this, will it mean a whole hell of a lot by the end of the year? Probably not. Georgetown ain't making the tournament. Providence probably isn't going to either. But goddamn it,
yeah.
This was an awesome game.
Yeah, I mean, it is true that the dunk is one of the best home atmospheres in college basketball. Yep. Providence's record there is insane. Might be the best in all of college basketball. And just to add on top of that, the passion and the anger of having, your head coach that you had for 10 years just all of a sudden leave to a rival team. Unbelievable. I will say, we saw this last year when Chris Beard went back to Lubbock. And that shit was insane as well, right? Texas Tech, that was one of the rowdiest crowds I saw last year. So it's just good for the drama. Maybe we should root for coaches to do this more often because it's really fun.
As long as it's not mine, I'm in. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I'm happy with Brad Brownell going somewhere. I don't give a hell about Brad Brownell.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this next note, but Texas Tech is currently leading the Big 12, and that's pretty crazy.
Which is crazy
because
Kansas is 4-3. The Big 12 is just beating up on each other.
Yeah.
Really, it's gonna be really tough. Like even right now, if you were like go place a future on who you think is gonna win, it is anybody's game. Like you could have Cincinnati or BYU could just somehow at the end just somehow be there. Like it's just gonna be nuts. And then lastly, and you might have watched this live because
yes,
I think you texted me about it. But Wyoming, Colorado State, I just watched a little clip about it. Seemed insane, but give me your little like play-by-play here because the game of the year maybe.
Yeah, so it was absolutely bonkers. Essentially, what happened at the end of this game, there is like a minute 41. Colorado State goes up 4. Hold on. We gotta go back. Okay, a minute and 11 left. 11-point lead, Colorado State. In a minute and 11 seconds left in regulation, Wyoming decimated an 11-point lead. They're the only point by Colorado State in that minute and 11-second run was one free throw made with 9 seconds left by Jalen Lake. Outside of that, Wyoming went on an absurd run. Like it was beautiful. It was work of art. It was steals, like late game, like chucking up threes. They were getting fouled on the threes. They were making the free throws. They were doing like
they were intentionally
missing the last free throws, getting the offensive rebounds. It was insane. It was the comebacks
that like 3 times.
Yeah,
like,
it was the comebacks that like when you're playing basketball growing up and your coach is like, "Well, we still got a shot," and you're down 9. You're like, I mean, technically, yeah, but no, we don't.
Everything has to go our way. Because again, this was a scenario where Colorado State choked it away, but I wouldn't like you remember Northern Iowa, Texas A&M from the 2016 tournament?
Yes.
Right? Texas A&M down 11 or 13, whatever it was.
Yep.
Northern Iowa chucked that away because they just couldn't inbound the ball. Like they were getting trapped. It was just terrible. But Colorado State was kind of just like milking the clock. Like they were still up 5 with like 8 seconds left.
Yeah.
Or with like 3 seconds left, they were up like double or like
4. They were up 5 with 9 seconds left.
Yeah. Like that shouldn't be, you should like, I don't know. They didn't really do that much wrong. And then the ball just bounced off the rim on these misses right to where it needed to go for Wyoming to get the rebound or like just make a play. And it was like, oh my God. So yeah, you're completely right. Like that is a 1 in a million type of scenario that's the beauty of college basketball. That's why it's great. We have like 300 games a week for like 40,000 games a season. You're going to get games like that are just nuts.
Yep. It felt like March, like that was one of those games. It felt like March. All right, so we're going to the hypothetical bracket section. Okay.
We are.
We're going to do a little segment here. We did blind resumes last week. We're going to do a hypothetical bracket this week. All right.
Yep.
Nick, let's fill this out together because I want to see kind of where we agree, where we disagree. Right. But you're one.
Do you, I have a bracket. Do you want to just like create a bracket or do you want to use a bracket and just go until we get a champion?
Ooh. So like the teams are already in it.
Brackets, yeah, we can just pretend like whatever bracket.
Yeah. Okay.
I have one.
Okay. Let's do a little bracket.
What I had in mind.
Okay. Perfect. Let's do that. Because I'll be.
Do you want to use my bracket or do you want to go like Lennar?
No, let's use your bracket.
Okay. All right. Because the one I just used is I use like the main formula that I think the selection committee is going to use. So it should be decently accurate. And in that sense, luckily enough, I posted this graphic with a hypothetical schedule for the opening round. So we can just
Did you post that on Instagram?
Like that. Yeah, it's on Instagram.
Okay, cool. If you haven't seen Nick's Instagram, go follow Nick Bateman on Instagram.
Nick during the
Nick
day.
during the day.
Yeah, a lot of graphic stuff. Just stuff to provoke your thoughts.
Okay.
But in this sense, we will start with the play-in games on Tuesday on True TV. Can you just feel it? Can you feel it? Like Selection Sunday
Feel it in
comes
my
around,
bones.
and
The
you're like,
Dayton
oh my
court.
God.
It's beautiful.
The 16th seeds are playing against each other on True TV at 6:30, and I'm locked in. For the sake of it, it's Norfolk State versus Southern and Merrimack versus St. Thomas, Minnesota. Just a shout out. We're not going to go over that. But the other playing games, I have Colorado playing Providence in the Midwest region, and Wake Forest playing Colorado State, who has really fallen off. I had them 2 weeks ago. They were on like the 4 line. Now they are 11 seed playing. Who would you take to win those 2 games?
I'm going to take Providence just because Colorado is playing in the Pac-12 and the Pac-12's ass.
Yep.
And then I would say probably if Colorado State doesn't turn it around, like they're toast. So I'll have them losing.
I kind of like Wake Forest in that one.
Yeah.
Because if they do end up making it, you have to assume they picked up a good win here and there, because right now they might be a little bit on the outside looking in, but this is a little predictive metric. All right, so that's the playing game. We go into Thursday, March 21st. It's Christmas morning for guys like us. 12:15, Marquette 3 seed playing Louisiana Tech 14 seed.
Yeah.
Who do you got?
Marquette.
Marquette. I got Marquette as well. Can't be any. I mean, crazier things can happen. But then Illinois versus App State. App State's a pretty sneaky team.
App State got votes in the AP poll this week.
Yeah.
Fun fact. So I don't know, man. This would be a phenomenal first round matchup. I would probably pick Illinois at full strength, but this would not be.
That's the thing. If this is assuming Terrence Shannon remains with the team, he refines himself. Like we had the Brandon Miller drama last year, and a lot of people thought like he, is going to get suspended. Never happened, and Alabama just got better and better. Obviously, they lost in the Sweet 16, but they weren't losing in those first 2 rounds. No way. Yep. I think Illinois with Marcus Domask, who is maybe my favorite player in college basketball this season.
Cold ass white boy.
Oh my God, I love him. Him and Connect, man. I'm gonna get a jersey with it splits. Tennessee on one side, Illinois on one. It's gonna be 11.
And both be orange.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I have to go Illinois, but it depends on App State's draw. Or like JMU could win that conference tourney as well.
Yeah.
Either of those teams could get a better draw and win in the first round for sure. We then have Texas Tech playing St. Mary's, assuming St. Mary's wins the WCC.
Yeah, I don't believe in St. Mary's at all. I don't believe in the WCC at all. Gross.
Yeah, as of right now, I'd want to pick Texas Tech, but I also don't really believe in Texas Tech. New head coach, a lot of guys, inexperienced in the tournament. St. Mary's, that's a different story. They were all in the tournament last year. Very experienced head coach. And I think if they get there, it's maybe like I'm not saying a Kansas City Chiefs type thing, but it's like, wow, not a good regular season. Everyone's saying St. Mary's is not going to make the tournament. They somehow squeak in, and then that experience shows. I would actually go St. Mary's on that one. But just using that logic and a little bit of the fact that I don't really know how I feel about Texas Tech quite yet. Then we have UNC playing. They're a 1 seed. We're just going to assume we're going to go with the 1 seeds, right?
Yep.
Then we have another 6-11. This is a juicy one, but I think we're both going to agree. 2:45 on Thursday, CBS game, Clemson versus Texas, 6 versus 11.
Texas is still frauds. Texas has been frauds. Texas will be frauds. Give me Clemson.
Yeah. I would feel good about a draw like that for Clemson, especially like Texas had a great run in the tourney last year. I don't see this Texas team as like the Miami team that went on 2 straight great runs. Like this Texas team is probably one and done if they even make it, right? Like 11 seed, they're bubble for sure. 8 seed Michigan State, which is maybe a little high, but the metrics did like them a lot, versus 9 seed Mississippi State. I think that'd be pretty juicy. But it is January, February, Izzo, April, right? So
yeah, I would pick Mississippi State just because of that, or Michigan State because of that.
Yeah,
but
okay. Yeah.
Mississippi State has some good bigs. They rebound well. They play good defense. We saw what they did to Auburn. Like that was exactly how they dominated that game.
And Tennessee. They have 2 really, really good wins.
Yeah, don't sleep on Mississippi State. If I would January, February Izzo, but I might pick Michigan or Mississippi State just because
that's a game that I would literally just switch so much in my head. Like I'd be tinkering and be like, what do I do here?
I would pick Mississippi State probably because 80% of brackets would pick Michigan State. And that's why I would go against it.
But then again, like, yeah, it's just so tough because then it's like you still have Hogard and Tyson Walker, these guys that made it to the Sweet 16 last year.
Yeah.
Mississippi State lost, I think, in the play-in game to Pitt. Next is Arizona Colgate. Normally we'd skip over this, but hold on, Cody, because Arizona, as a 2 seed last year, lost. Colgate, a lot of people think Colgate's due. A lot of people think Colgate's due for a win in the tournament.
No.
You're a strong no. I would, a little bit of me would consider it. I wouldn't be able to actually pick it in my bracket because I do think Arizona has the potential to get really hot. And like, it'd suck if they made it to the Final Four. And I was like the idiot that had them losing to a 15 seed that they won by 35, you know?
Yeah.
But like deep down, it is worrisome how they're playing away from home against some not great competition. They lost to Oregon State, who won like 3 games last year.
Yeah.
It's really bad. So they can lose to bad teams.
I think Arizona has already turned the blinders on, and they're worried about getting dialed in for March. Like, I think they have already, like,
that's an interesting theory.
The Pac-12 is terrible. Like, I think, not that, like, they're looking ahead, but I think, and this might be a very Purdue take or Indiana take from me, but there's a difference between winning games against conference opponents in January and February and then winning in March. And like, because March you face adversity, it's tough. Like you have to find out who you can trust. And I think that's what Arizona's doing right now is finding out who they can trust, who they can go to in these situations. Like, because Purdue's like, yeah, we'll win every Big Ten game by giving Edey the ball 40 times. Well, you can't do that in the NCAA tournament. So,
right.
I think
I do think that having some adversity, like this was, I saw an argument about the Ravens in the sense that when in the regular season you're blowing out teams so constantly, your subconscious state of being isn't as prepared for the highly competitive postseason, you know, because like the Chiefs, they were playing from behind so many times. The Ravens, not so much. You know, that's probably a factor. Arizona, if they were coasting through a shit Pac-12, maybe they would stumble. Like they kind of last year, they were coasting through a pretty bad Pac-12. They're actually losing some games, so this could actually benefit them down the road.
Yep.
Next game, 8 seed, 9 seed.
This would be good.
Carolina,
this would be a good game.
Cincinnati.
This would be a good game. This is a feisty game. I would probably. I don't know. I like what South Carolina has done this year has been incredible because they were not picked to do anything at all.
17-3 right now, and no, they're not in the AP top 25 still somehow. But
I think they were picked among like to finish last in the SEC or like I think it was like Vanderbilt, Missouri, and then like South Carolina was down there in terms of preseason. And
100%
they're doing a hell of a job.
Lamont Paris, coach of the year probably in the SEC. Michi Johnson, like they have guys that when the moment's big, and I've witnessed this. They play Clemson on the road, and it's kind of just like they're ready, like they're prepared to die. You know, like they are going to play as hard as they physically can. And I think that is going to matter come March. Cincinnati, I mean, Victor Lakin, right, or Lakin or whatever, like I feel like Cincinnati they kind of are similar in that sense. So, like you're saying, this might be like the best game of the first round. but I would probably go South Carolina, just based on what I've seen.
Yeah, and like I like Cincy, I like Wes Miller, but yeah, I will go with South Carolina so far.
And so you might find this to be strange that UConn's a 2 seed, but again, this had none of my opinion. This was straight up
Off the
using
metrics.
a metric to make this, and the metric had UConn as a 2 seed, and part of that might be because they didn't have Clingan, so like their net ranking is not as high.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But according to that, if the tournament started today, UConn would be a 2, playing High Point.
Yeah.
Out of whatever conference, UConn wins that game.
Yep, for sure.
The
next one
TCU,
is interesting because Utah would be. I'm looking here quickly. I think that's the only other Pac-12 team on here.
Yeah, besides Colorado in the playing game.
Yeah, Colorado in the playing game, and then Utah, and that's it outside Arizona. I'll take. Man, I don't know. I kind of like Utah. Like Utah gets hot. Like they can put up 90. Like
I love Utah.
I would pick that as an upset.
The game, I would take Utah for sure.
Oh yeah. All right.
I think TCU's got a little bit of like the Big 12 bias going for them, but like they have big wins. But I don't know. I again, that's a team that Clemson played. Clemson beat them by double digits on a neutral court. I don't trust them shooting. I think not a lot of people are going to watch Utah play a single game this season.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, most people are going to take TCU. Utah's going to surprise them. That would be really cool if that actually was a matchup. Yep. Then we have Iowa State versus Akron, which, I mean, Akron's pretty good in the MAC. It's Akron or Toledo. They play Friday, but like sometimes like we've seen it in the past where you get like the Buffalo gets the 13 seed and out of nowhere they just destroy the 4 seed. I feel like
I don't think the MAC's very good this year.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. It's too early. Iowa State did lose pretty bad to Penn State or Pitt? It was Pitt maybe?
Yeah, I'm not 100%
they were like
sure.
7 last year and they just shot like 10% from the floor. It was like this tragic performance. And I like their head coach a lot.
Yeah, because I had them beating Miami.
Yeah. I think Iowa State would kind of be hungry in that game. So I think they'd win. Houston versus Quinnipiac. Houston wins that one. Yeah. New Mexico, Gonzaga.
Everybody is going to pick Gonzaga in their bracket. It's going to be New Mexico. I don't know if you watched that game last night. They played.
I've been watching New Mexico a good amount.
Who did they? Nevada. They dominated that game, start to finish.
They roadhoused them. Yeah,
start to finish.
It was by like
awesome.
30. Yeah, and that's like playing at what do they call it? The Pit, or is that San Diego State?
Yeah, at the Pit. It's the Pit, baby. Which I think it's the really third highest elevation. Yeah, tough place to play.
But they have some great guards with like House and Dent and Burn. Like, the guard play matters in March. Gonzaga, we've seen nothing from them. I can see a world where it's like, okay, Mark Few, experienced Gonzaga team. They've made the Sweet 16 like 9 straight tournaments, whatever the stat is.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen from New Mexico and what I've seen from Gonzaga, this actually, as of right now, feels pretty easy. I'd go New Mexico.
Yep.
I think we can both agree Wisconsin over Lipscomb. Lipscomb's really bad. I don't know. They just happen to get a 15 seed somehow in this. But
yeah.
Then Duke versus the play-in winner, Colorado Providence. So Providence.
Duke.
Yeah.
As much as I hate to say it, it's Duke.
Probably got to go Duke there. And then BYU, Nebraska in a 5-12. But it's fun whenever you have a Power 5 team as a 12 seed, they tend to do some stuff. So that'd be interesting.
I do like Nebraska here just because BYU, a lot of their biggest wins have all come at home. Like they had a big win against Texas on Saturday. That game was at home. Like they won and covered. But like BYU, I think they're like 8-0-1 against the spread at home. It's something ridiculous.
I know they lost to Colorado State at home, but that's the only.
Yeah. Nebraska would be a fun Tominga. Like that would be.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, Jonathan Tominga. That'd be fun. Like that'd be an awesome game. So.
And Kaisei Tominaga.
Yeah. Tominaga.
The samurai sniper. I think the spread would be really close in that one. I'd probably go Nebraska just for funsies because I don't know who BYU would be playing in the next round. But
Yep.
All right, so that does it for Thursday. On to Friday, we have Northwestern versus St. John's to kick it off for us, which I think would be a pretty fun game with Boo Buie playing against Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino, in my opinion, is due for a win.
That's a coin flip for me, but like that would be an awesome matchup.
Yeah, I think I go St. John's just because Pitino's due.
That's fair.
Creighton Samford. This might be like my biggest upset. Well, actually, I might go back to back here, but I'm going Samford against Creighton.
Yep.
Samford's really good, man. Like right now, a lot of like Lenardi and company might have them as like a 12 seed.
Damn.
There are 13 here. Creighton made a huge run last year. You know, they're susceptible to losing a weird game. They always are. So I go Samford.
Yeah.
I don't know about you per se.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched a whole hell of a lot of Samford ball, but I've watched Creighton. They've been so up and down. So I wouldn't blame you for taking them there. The next game up, Kansas Vermont. We called Kansas frauds, and we were right. And I don't know, man.
I know, and it's like Vermont is always so sneaky.
Vermont,
you know
another one that they're due to make a Sweet 16 run. Like,
yeah, and
I'm pretty sure I picked them in my bracket like every year.
Exactly, and so like part of me is like, wow, I really want to go Vermont here for the sake of this, just because we're both on this Kansas is a fraud wave. I'll go Vermont.
Hell yeah!
But I do think like Kansas is still Kansas. Like it's like they're just not this 1 seed, 2 seed Kansas.
I agree.
That we've seen in the past. So odds are they would win pretty handily in that game. But for the sake of YOLO, let's make it fun. Go Vermont.
Oklahoma Seton Hall.
Seton Hall.
I think Seton Hall wins that game. Oklahoma they're a fringe top 25 team. I'm going to be honest. I said that Texas Tech was going to beat them. Texas Tech beat them. I said that they were going to lose during the week. I forget who they played during the week, but they lost during the week. Like
they did lose during the week.
This Oklahoma team.
I was wrong about that.
This Oklahoma team isn't great. Like they're good, but I don't think they're great.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I feel like Seton Hall, it's possible they maybe peaked a little early, so it's tough. Like, if the bracket was a week from now, I'd go Seton Hall, but it's possible they, like, you know, start to look more human and come down to earth a little bit, limp into the tournament, and then Oklahoma gets them. That's obviously very possible. All right, so Tennessee, 1 seed playing game. That's a win.
Yep.
Baylor, Princeton. Easy for Princeton for me. I go Princeton.
I felt a lot better about Princeton. They lost this weekend.
They did. Yeah.
That being said, close game, still got a lot of fight in them. So I'm okay with the Princeton dub here.
Yeah, it's just the Ivy League. Like, I feel like they just win a game. Like, whoever they're playing, that's a tough draw. And I think I've said this before, but there's a little bit of that Brad Stevens Butler feel with that head coach. Like,
yep,
it's very unique, very different, very, very well disciplined, very together as a unit. I could see Princeton making another run similar to the run they made last year, and people are like, "Whoa!" Like they're just like that, I guess.
Yep. And Baylor is on my do not bet list, so
exactly.
Do not pick them.
Then we have Utah State versus Wake Forest.
I like Utah State in that matchup. I think that would be interesting. If this is a spot for a play-in tournament to make a run, this would be the spot I would pick.
That's the thing, is that like it feels like a play-in team usually at least wins one game because it's like the wild card team normally wins a game because they played an extra series, blah blah blah.
Yep.
So and we have Duke beating Providence, so I would actually go Wake Forest here.
I'm cool with that.
This is another weird little seeding thing, but Alabama, the metric has as the last 2 seed, which is kind of wild because they were hovering on that like 6 to 7 line for a while.
Yeah.
Then they beat Auburn, which is like a great win, but at home, you know, covered. Like it's kind of they were favored, like they should have won.
Yeah.
Metric has them as a 2 seed. They are a metric darling, but we'll have to see if that happens. But if they are a 2 seed, I think they will probably beat Eastern Washington. I would assume you agree.
Yep.
Then we have a very interesting 5-12. These 5-12s would be great. San Diego State, McNeese State.
McNeese is not a bad squad. Like they've
good.
been solid. They've been
They
really
could get
solid.
up to like an 11.
San Diego State's
seed.
been up and down. Like I could see it.
Especially San Diego State was in the championship last season, so it's like they did, return a lot of guys. So like when you make it that far, I feel like you have a lot of confidence going into that first round. But the law of averages does suggest that this would be a great time for San Diego State to just lose in the first round because you're still remembering that championship run. Purdue beats Oakland.
They're not losing again.
Yeah, there's no way. It's funny because we technically maybe should talk about 1 versus 16 in that sense, but no way. Auburn, Drexel. Drexel's played pretty well. They like Charleston might win the Colonial Athletic or whatever it is, but I like Auburn in that.
Yep.
FAU Grand Canyon, fascinating game.
Give me the Lopes.
Yeah,
give me the Lopes.
I love it.
FAU's
Grand Canyon.
FAU was borderline on my do not bet list after Sunday's game, where it took a double clutch 3 in order for them to beat North Texas. So
yeah,
FAU, you're not on my do not bet list, but I got my eye on you. Okay,
it's fishy. It's fishy behavior. There's other 11 seeds they could play where I'd have a similar thing with San Diego State, where it's like they have all the same guys. They're going to be confident at least in the first round to go out and get a dub.
Yep.
But Grand Canyon, there's something special brewing over there in Arizona. So Kentucky UC Irvine is like it feels pretty clear Kentucky for me, but they do have that UNC Wilmington loss. They are very young. Crazier things have happened. Like they lost to St. Peter's when no one thought they would. But I think this team's a little different. Like they're just so stacked, man. They could go all the way. Indiana State versus Florida. I think that's a pretty good draw for Indiana State as Sycamore super fans, you and I.
Yes.
Definitely going Indiana State there.
That would be a fun matchup too, though. Like I think they would match up well with Florida.
That second rounder against Purdue would be amazing.
Yep.
Ole Miss Memphis. Memphis is really falling off, man. I don't know what's going on with them.
I would take Ole Miss here. Memphis just has not looked good.
Just like the Chris Beard effect. I mean, Ole Miss, for as not great as their resume is, like they're just kind of winning enough by enough that their net ranking's high. Like their metrics are just like I don't think they're that good of a team, but they're going to make the tournament. And then Dayton as a 3 seed, which is awesome, even though they did lose to Richmond.
Yeah,
the metrics still have them as a 3.
I said though, like that's their biggest game the rest of the year. Like for the A10, it was that Richmond Dayton game. Like that was a tough game. That was going to be a tough game.
There's like a couple more that they could drop, but like they're gonna go 16-4, whatever it is in the A10. It's gonna be impressive. Maybe not on the 3 line, but as of right now, they are. Morehead State having a pretty good year. Shout out Kenneth Fareed. But got to go Dayton here. From what I've seen, I love Dayton. I think Dayton could win it all. People are probably not even thinking about that. But all right. And so just from a time standpoint, instead of going into the second round and Sweet 16 and blah, 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 let's just go like Elite 8 or Final 4 from the Midwest, West, East, and South region that are laid out here.
Yep.
Pick what do you think your Elite 8 matchup is going to be, or just give me your Final 4 team.
I'm just going to give you the Final 4 team because I didn't think about it, but didn't think about an Elite 8 matchup. But
that's fair.
Out of the Midwest, I'm going to take Purdue. I think Purdue finally gets there. Out of the West, I'm going to take UConn. I think they are the best team in the country. We talked about it with Clingan. Out of the East, I think the East would be far and above the weakest region if it ended up being set up like this. So I'll take. And I know that you're not going to like this, but I'm going to take Wisconsin because I know you don't think they're a Final 4 team. But I think if they had this path, I think they had a shot. They would have a shot to make it.
Okay.
And then out of the South, I hate that I'm still doing this, but I'm going to die on this hill. The Kentucky Wildcats have as good or a better roster than every other team in the tournament. So I'm going to take Kentucky.
Yeah, which, again, that's a tough region there. Kentucky, North Carolina would be a Sweet 16 game, little rematch of one of the best games this season. For me, I would go – it's Arizona or Purdue, but I'll go Arizona from the Midwest. Just due to the fact that, like, I have to put a ban on picking Purdue to go far. I'd probably have them in the Elite Eight, but, like, I can't
Fair.
Can't do it. Then in the West, I actually think I go Illinois here.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, I don't love Houston, UConn, Kansas. Feels like been there, done that type vibe. Let's give Illinois a chance. I also Marcus Domask, my boy. In the East region, as much as I want to go Clemson, absolutely not. What I have written here, because I kind of like filled this out, is Princeton, but like that's not.
That's
really,
crazy.
Really, that's
I would love
dream.
it, but that's crazy.
I know, and it's like crazy shit happens all the time. But in reality, I think I go Tennessee. I think this might be their year, their time. And then in the South, I'm gonna go Dayton. I'm gonna have Dayton make the Final Four.
Could Rick Barnes and Matt Painter get over the hump in the same year?
That would be something. In that scenario, Cody, before we move on, you have Purdue, UConn, Wisconsin, and Kentucky. So it'd be 1 seed Purdue versus 2 seed UConn. Who wins that game?
I'm going to take the Purdue Boilermakers. Boiler the fuck up.
All right. And then you have 2 seed Wisconsin versus 4 seed Kentucky.
I would take Kentucky.
Okay.
And then I would take the Purdue Boilermakers over the Kentucky Wildcats.
That would be a fascinating Final Four and final. I would not hate that at all if that's how it played out. I like where your head's at. In my
Zach Edey statement, like one of the best college basketball players to ever do it, run.
Yep. Arizona, Illinois for me. 2 seed versus 4 seed there. Give me Illinois. Give me Damask.
Okay.
And then Tennessee versus Dayton. Give me Dayton.
Let's go.
I love that team, man. Best point shooting team I've seen this year. I think that matters a whole lot come tournament time, especially like they're great from the line. Mm-hmm. They're pretty good defensively. You're going to see. Y'all are going to see with Dayton. And then Dayton, Illinois, 4 seed versus 3 seed. Give me Dayton, baby.
Dayton gets redemption for the 20. They should have won it in 2020. So I hope they hope they do.
As we said earlier, this is basically 2020 again, right?
Fuck. That crazy. Crazy. I love it.
We have the same Super Bowl. We have everything.
I love it.
This is now Dayton's time. That's actually great. Maybe I'll make a video on that.
I love that. Hell yeah.
That's my official reasoning. Okay, so fun segment, long segment.
Yep.
It's going to be, but really fun segment. Love doing it. We'll just rip through our picks and then get out of here.
Yeah, we'll rip through the picks real quick. Before we do, just a reminder, if you've made it this far, like and subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime, but it helps us out a ton. So thank you. Nick's pick records, 39-25. I'm 37-27. We both went 8-8 last week. That being said, this weekend's slate is awesome. We'll go through the week slate first. Texas Tech at TCU. It looks like we both have TCU here, TCU at home. Pretty straightforward. Marquette at Villanova. We both have Marquette. Villanova's kind of.
I thought long and hard about going Villanova. It does also feel like Marquette may be due for a loss. And this is a huge opportunity for Villanova. But I think there's also a chance that they lose this game, lose a couple more bad ones, and then fire Neptune and just start from fresh. Like they just chalk this season up to a failure. So I'm going Marquette using that theory.
Mississippi State, Ole Miss, an interesting game. Neither of these teams ranked, but a good matchup. I'm taking Mississippi State off the win against Auburn. I think they stay hot. You have Ole Miss.
I am going Ole Miss at home. I really put that on here just so I can get myself to watch it, because I think it's kind of like an under the radar, like might matter in the end for just the SEC as a whole. And I'd like to see Ole Miss play against not like an Auburn team on the road. You know what I mean? When they get smoked. I want to see what they really are doing. Purdue Northwestern's next. It's a revenge game for Purdue. They're at home. We're both going Purdue.
Dog walk. In a dog walk.
Yeah, I think the spread's going to be pretty crazy, but we're like, that's one of the rare freebies that we're giving ourselves in this pick'em. Alabama going into Georgia. Who do you have here?
So I'm picking Alabama, but like Georgia's been playing some pretty good ball.
Yeah, Georgia needs this win. I was really like 50-50 on this, but Alabama's starting to get their swagger back a little bit, their confidence back. Because for a while it was like they were losing to the good teams they play, and they're beating the teams they should beat. Then they go and beat Auburn, and they're like, okay, we can go beat like a top 10 team. So I think they see Georgia, they're like, let's go get it. Let's keep rolling. I think they do it.
Yep. Boise State at New Mexico, a phenomenal Mountain West matchup. I'm taking New Mexico. They're so putting teams in a stranglehold right now. It's awesome to watch.
They're just so good at home. They're at home in this one. This could be another 30-point win. It could be
the Pit.
So yeah, I'm going to New Mexico as well. The Pit.
Wisconsin and Nebraska on Thursday. We differ here.
Yeah, I'm going Nebraska, and my reasoning I have here, which you kind of touched on, is that if Wisconsin beats Nebraska and Purdue in the same week, which maybe spoiler alert, they would move up to the 1 line. And in my eyes, they are just not a 1 seed. I think it'd be a great story if they got to a 2 seed. AJ Storr having a fantastic year. I just do not see them as a 1 seed, even in a February bracketology. I don't see it. So I think, just like the close your eyes test, I have to go Nebraska in this one.
That's fair. I'm rolling with Wisconsin, keeping it moving to Saturday's phenomenal slate of games. I mean, we have several top 10 matchups, a couple top 25 matchups. Tennessee, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor. These matchups are going to be outstanding. UConn, St. John's. I'm going UConn. I think they're the best team in the country, and I will stand by that. And they roll.
Yep. And I'm going St. John's. Easily the boldest one for me. Risky. Don't love it. Don't feel that confident. But if you're looking at UConn's schedule, right, like, are they not going to slip up again? Are they just going to coast as the number 1 team in the country? Probably not, knowing what we've seen from college basketball. So assuming they slip up, I think on the road at St. John's, who's kind of a bubble team that could use a huge win, I'm going St. John's for that one.
That's fair. Utah State going into San Diego State. We both have San Diego State here. This is a team with a lot of talent. They made the national championship last year. Utah State has had a great season, but going into San Diego State is going to be a tough place to win. I think SDSU gets it done.
Mm-hmm.
Houston at Kansas. I am surprised with your pick here.
Yeah, it is at Kansas. It's Fog Allen. And as much of a, like, Kansas shouldn't be ranked 8th, they're not that good, guys that we are. I haven't necessarily been boasting about Houston, especially on the road. Like, it's not like this is like an auto, like, oh my God, Kansas has to host this beast of a team. I think this will be close because I don't trust Kansas, but they're playing at home. This is their biggest game by far. You're playing the best team in the Big 12, ranking wise. You get to play them at home where you don't lose with Bill Self. You just don't. They're also 4-3 in the Big 12. They've never been 4-4 under Bill Self. So I'm going to go with a decent amount of confidence. I'm going Kansas. But did you just change it?
No, I'm actually going Kansas as well. Okay. The reason I'm going Kansas, Houston is playing today on the road at Texas, and then they're going on the road at Kansas. 2 consecutive road games is a little tough. Kansas, however, they have Oklahoma State prior to this, which they stink, and that game is at home. So gives them a little bit of rest, and I think they come into that game swinging. Duke, North Carolina, the Battle of Tobacco Road. It's must-watch television every goddamn year. We're both on the same side of it. We've talked about Duke. Duke is not the Duke of old, and I think North Carolina, I mean, truly, I see them winning the ACC. I think they got as good of a shot at the 1 seed as anybody. So give me North Carolina here.
Yeah, North Carolina's been playing fantastic of late. Great defense. Duke has been playing weird basketball. This is in North Carolina. And as much as you want to say, like, oh, these schools are 20 minutes from each other, it's going to, like, there's no home court advantage. If you think that, you don't watch ball, because there's not going to be. You're going to look at this and be like, there is only Carolina blue in that arena. And it's going to be rowdy as hell. UNC by 15.
Whew. Big dubs. Iowa State at Baylor. We're both on Iowa State here. Baylor's on my do not bet list, and therefore Iowa State. Pretty simple.
Which is funny, because this was like one of the bold road wins that I had, and I was kind of maybe hoping deep down that you were going to go Baylor, just so we would differ. But that makes sense that you would not be going Baylor, because they are on your do not bet list. So
yep.
Cheers for that.
Tennessee, Kentucky. I just said that Kentucky was going to make the finals in that hypothetical bracket, and I think Tennessee comes in and gets a win here. But we are. I hope to God we have a Dalton Connect, Reed Shepherd, cold ass white boy off, and like we just get dudes jacking up threes. Legitimately, I think the score of this game could be like high 80s, both squads. Like this is going to be a must watch game. I'm rolling with Tennessee though,
which I don't hate. I mean, again, Kentucky, for as highly ranked as they are, for as good as they are, their resume's not that good. We did the blind resume last week, and it was like, oh wow, like they're maybe a 4 seed resume wise, and then they went and lost another game to South Carolina.
Yep.
So this is kind of a make or break moment for Kentucky. If they win this game, they have stamped themselves as warranting top 10 for the rest of the season. If not, they're still looking for that big win. But I'm going to go Kentucky at home. I think they take care of business.
Our favorite team in the country, Indiana State at home against Drake. Drake got them on the road in this first matchup in what was a really good game. You don't beat the Sycamores twice. You just don't. That's what they've been saying about the Sycamores. You don't beat them twice. So Indiana State.
Yeah. I mean, easily the 2 best teams in the
Missouri Valley for sure.
It's wild to think about, like, if Drake wins, it's technically possible for a 2-bid Missouri Valley. Unlikely, but possible. But I don't think so. I'm going to go Indiana State. Robbie Avila, baby.
Yep. Gonzaga St. Mary's. This would have been a top 25 matchup preseason, and now just another WCC game.
Yep. It's like Loyola Marymount versus San Francisco. No difference.
Yep. We're both on Gonzaga here. I'll let you give your piece, but I took Gonzaga for one reason and one reason only, and that's because I have them to win the WCC at -125 preseason. So,
right, this is a huge game for that. I think I have that as well somewhere in like a parlay. But, I mean, it's just like I kind of just want to watch this game. I haven't watched much of St. Mary's or Gonzaga. It's at Gonzaga. I'll take what I know in this sense and go with what I've seen in the past.
Yep. And then Sunday, the basketball gods said, hey, look, we know that you don't get football this Sunday, right? You're going to miss it, but God damn it, we're going to give you some football. And it's going to be Purdue, Wisconsin. It's going to be a Big Ten matchup, 2 heavyweights going at it. I'm actually super, super excited for this game. It's going to be at the Kohl Center, which has been a phenomenal environment all year. That being said, on the road, Matt Painter, nobody loves winning the Big Ten more than Matt Painter does. Like Purdue fans don't care about winning the Big Ten anymore. They want to win, tournament games, but not Matt Painter. He wants to win the Big Ten. Give me the Boilermakers.
Yep, and that I can't judge, but this
you could say it's a dumb pick. Fuck you.
No,
your pick's dumb.
I can't judge.
That being said, thank you guys for listening along. We'll be back next week. As always, we will be doing a Super Bowl preview episode. So it might not be a full episode, but we'll do that in addition to our college basketball show. We'll give out some picks. We'll pick our teams. Nick will cry a little bit. It'll be fun. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. All right. We'll see you in the next one.